tap in. What's up, YouTube? We're going live on IG as well. I'm gonna let it breathe and let more people come in a second, and then we'll get started here. What do I want to? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? All right, let me post this here. All right, cool. Good evening to everybody that's tapped in. Yeah, I'm actually planning on doing something in Dallas soon. So thank you, Miss Me Lane. What's going on, YouTube family? What's going on, IG family? I gotta start doing this also on Facebook. Yeah, everybody's Instagram was down. Everybody's Facebook was acting up and a bunch of other things, which is good. And it shows you how dependent and reliant we are on these social media things. I seen somebody caption was like, "Thank God Instagram is back because I was unemployed for a few hours," and that's correct, because these tools that we've used to extend our reach and to extend that who we are is very interesting. There's a lot of people who didn't notice, like Just's point. Said that he didn't notice, and that's interesting, and which is why I always say that we may live on the same planet, but we live in different worlds. There's a lot of people who, missed income for the day, who missed a bunch of things because of these platforms. And so, just in 2000 and what was this? I had this meme up. Let me see if I can find it for you all real quick. And they were saying about all of the different things that didn't even exist. Yeah, here it is. So all of the things that didn't even exist in 2007, right? Instagram, Snapchat, Airbnb, Bitcoin, Spotify, Pinterest, Uber, WhatsApp, blockchain, Slack. I don't know what that one is. I gotta look that one up. Tesla, 4G. Now we're going to the 5G era. The Android, Beats by Dre. And it's very interesting because, let me take this down now. How do I do this? Yeah. But that's interesting because, some of these things that people be like, I can't live without, and they're very new in our world. You understand me? And so it's just interesting to see how much chaos these things can cause. And I'm calling this resilience to chaos because I was actually inspired when I was just on the good brother M Billion live, and I hope I can share him soon to come on here and share the platform with me and have a great dialogue, about resilience to chaos and what needs to be done in order for a person to continue to vibrate at the necessary level and necessary frequency for success. And if you notice, I'm using words like, frequency, and things of that nature on purpose, because what I think that we've gotten away from, and I think we've gotten away from a metaphysical component of understanding the reality that's going to be required for us to be successful in the evolution of ourselves and what needs to take place. And what I'm learning in this thought leader community, this solutions community, this conscious community, if you will, is that we've gotten away from the metaphysics of it. We've gotten away from the esoteric component. And a lot of it is necessary because a lot of those rituals, if you will, is what we've used in order to get to this point here. And the problem has always been is that we've had so much spiritual rituals, but we had no material success. And now that we're gaining the business side and material rituals, we're not getting and cultivating spiritual success. And so now that we have to find a way and a balance between both, and that's what I've been teaching for this for a long time. You know, I find different ways, and that's why I call myself a polymath, because I learned universal knowledge to solve specific problems, and I qualify those specific problems, you know, to be the ones of the native people on this planet Earth, the original people on this planet Earth, the Asiatic people on this planet Earth. And that's you all that's tapped in right now, the righteous frequency of thinking. And we're not even going into nationality. We're not even going into color. We're talking about the natural way of thinking of a person whose mind is attuned with the righteousness and whose mind is attuned with doing the will of God or good within this world. Those are my people. Like, you can't just be my people if you look like me. You have to think like me. We have to be on that same frequency, because what I found out is that regardless of how much we want unity, unless we have practice of unity, it will never ever come together. And in this world to where you hear people projecting that black people will have 0% wealth, and my brother Blue Pill sent me a video from Diddy that was talking about, $1 billion is broke, and saying that when we first got out of, Juneteenth, you understand me, June 19th, when so-called slavery was over. Please don't put hard faces in there. When so-called slavery was over, guess how much wealth we had then? 1%. And guess how much we have in 2019? 1%. And of course, this is why I always consider it dangerous when we are consistently consumed with theories and consistently consumed with politics and consistently consumed with pop culture and gossip and other things that don't manifest and allow us to evolve. And so, in the actuality of us being able to, start to understand more of the business aspect of this reality, to where we can be financially literate. And I am eons behind in my own business acquisition and growth that I'm going to need to, in order to 10x all of those things that I need. But I have to make sure that as my business grow, so does my spiritual growth, cultivate all in the same time, because that's the only way I'm able to sustain it, because my ambitions have to, and my aspirations have to match my ambitions. They have to be side by side at all times. You understand me? My Eurocentric mind, if you will, because we in America, has to always match my Afrocentric mind, meaning my spiritual cultivation, has to be the same as my mental cultivation. Look, Instagram messing up. So I'm still talking to you all, YouTube. But these things have to be in line for an individual who finds themselves having growth. Like I've broken my, or exposed, and had the electrical Kundalini awakening. I've been through different aspects of evolution within self. And here's the thing, many people can get to high levels. High level achievement can be done through drugs. It can be done through different experiences. It can be done and cultivated through the substance of eating correctly and environment, a bunch of different things. That's and that within itself is powerful, right? But the hardest thing to do is the maintenance of that level and the consistency of maintaining yourself at that higher level. And you see people throughout the culture in the community and the world maintain high levels and do great things, but they don't have consistency and they don't get to stay up there. And I call it paying rent, and eventually you rent to own when it comes to higher consciousness. And what I mean by that is that, you can obtain a high level, but the rent is also high as well. So it's going to require you to eat the right foods. You have to consistently pay that bill to maintain your higher consciousness, right? And when you pay it so much, you understand me, your karmic debt is paid off. You understand me, unleashing your ability to consistently stay in that higher realm of thinking so that you can evolve. And I'm specifically going there instead of putting it in the psychological box of Freudian terms that you all may understand, because those are mental aspects that the Eurocentric mind has only been able to define as real when you say things of the brain and the mind. So instead of going into Kemetic sciences of the spiritual realm, they went into the mental sciences of the psyche, psychology, knowledge of the mind. And so it's important that we understand that the language that reaches us is different than the language that reaches and unlocks them, right? You understand me? They need scientific method and cultivation of the scholarship, and because it has to appeal all to the reasoning mind. But for the activation of, the original DNA within us that has all of the power for us to evolve, we have to activate that science of, that spiritual language. You understand me? And the reason that I was just on the phone with my brother Blue Pill, we speak in numbers a lot of time, is because your DNA understands mathematics. You may not understand it. You may not understand the appealing of that it has to you, but you know that it does on a deeper level than just your conscious, just the conscious influence and enjoyment of that. And so when it comes to us getting into deeper rituals of power, that we have to consistently set a bar for ourselves to always pay the rent so that we can always live in this higher consciousness. And the function that we're currently at is we are at an inferior level of thinking. It's still in the most of our progress and most of our solutions are tied to slavery. And until we unloosen the noose off our neck and truly break the chains and untie our conditions of where we currently are to the historical reference of slavery, then we won't be able to go further. The same way if someone was in a domestic abuse relationship and then they get in a relationship with someone else that's great and that's blossoming, they got money, they got cars, they got all of these different things, but this person is consistently going back and saying that, no, you know what, I want this person to compensate me for what they've done, I want justice for this. You still living in your past relationship, even though that you physically moved into a different space. And so for that reason, I qualify that anytime that we're living in the trauma of conceptualized trauma, because it's not experienced trauma, we conceptualize it in our mind of what it felt like to be in those spaces and why we feel sorry for ourselves. And that's when slavery becomes yesterday and tomorrow, right? And present. And we live in this atmosphere. It's not until we disconnect from it that we can move further and evolve beyond the trauma of our ancestors, and we can start building a future for our descendants. And this transcendence has to come. This evolution has to come. And that's why this cultivation within self needs to be understood and understanding. You're right. And so even when I use words like understanding, our mind triggers saying that no, you can't create your own language, right? There's a barrier between us thinking that we're the original people on the planet Earth and us actually executing and acting like it and showcasing that talent and that ability. Some of the greatest people that are able to do that are artists, right? Artists are able to tap into frequencies of self and feed the masses that frequency. They're able to tap into frequencies of self and they can feed the masses that frequency through the ability of expression, through spiritual cultivation, because art is a deep spiritual practice, because it's the expression of self. No one can make art without air, right? And air surrounds all of us. And as we breathe, it is the control of our spirit. So when I see somebody paint something, I'm looking at not only the physical incantation and ritual of their mind, but also their spirit and the expression and the flow of that, right? So it's interesting in the same way if a person was to sing, right? Or if a person was to rap, because people imagine hearing God's voice, right? People imagine hearing these thoughts in their head, these divine thoughts. But if I disappeared, right, and you never seen me again, but it was said that I went to some island and I was just living in some island. But let's say I died that day and you knew nothing about my death, but I had pre-recorded, all of these different messages. And these messages is just my voice. So the vibration of my voice or my spirit will still be alive because you will still be observing it. Right? Because in physics, you can say observation vibrates a thing, it changes it, it makes particles act like light waves. So that the observation of my consciousness keeps my spirit alive, right? And so when you think about it like this, is that just by listening to a person's voice, a person's life force, their spirit lives continuously. But there's many people who existed on this planet Earth whose spirit is no longer alive. Right? Because it's no longer vibrating. Human consciousness is not observing it anymore. And once you're not observed, the same way a baby needs attention after it's born to continue life, otherwise that baby would die if it's not touched, observed, taken care of. because it needs that human consciousness. Once it's brought out, it's not enough to sustain its own self-awareness yet, because that baby doesn't have that consciousness to be able to sustain itself yet, right? So once you don't have a finite body, your consciousness has to be sustained by other people's observations, right? Because they have a body to keep you alive. And so when I think about that, we all have the ability to create energy signatures that can live throughout time, because time is this great illusion. In the atomic world, the quantum world, time doesn't exist, right? And so when you die, the same way when a person will consistently they'll debate you to their death and beyond, that Michael Jackson didn't do anything, or that Michael Jackson is innocent. And the reason why is not because he had millions of dollars. You understand me? He sold so many records. No, postmortem, nobody cares about that. The reason why is because how he made people feel, right? And feeling is, we are all fast vibrating molecules, right? And how you make somebody feel, right? That's emotions. You're emoting, you're moving people, and that sticks with people forever. That gets into your subconscious brain, the feminine aspect of self, right? Because art is also a feminine expression, because it deals with expression. And so when you have a life that you live and is aspirational, and you evolve and you become more, you're securing your legacy postmortem, meaning after death, after this finite body is gone. And so when I talk about the evolution of the original people on this planet Earth, because the original man is an Asiatic black man, a maker, the owner, creator of the planet Earth, God of the universe, right? Original man is, or woman is the same definition. So, but we have to evolve based on our potential, and we have that. And so what I think that we're going to get, and these are my predictions, for one, the only way that the medium household income can, the only way that the medium household income can get down to 0% is if we do nothing and we allow other people plans to dictate our future, right? But if we, and also if we do not unite, right? Because in this sweeping of the economy, things fluctuating, going up and down, recessions, depressions, automation errors, AI, all of these different things that come over. If we are not innovators and we are not leaders of innovation in these spaces, then of course it will go down to zero, because it's already trickling. And that's why the concepts like reparations of 500 billion is dangerous, because it doesn't even do anything, right? Because if we're getting $1.5 trillion per year, and you boost that up with another 500 billion, and you make it 2 trillion, but she's not even talking about doing it, Marianne Wilson, instantly. You're talking about an expansion over a 20-year period. So essentially what you're talking about is giving people tax refunds, boosted tax refunds. And a person that is financially illiterate, and with their habits and with their paradigm, is going to do the same thing. It's not until we evolve in this evolution of thinking, and knowledge is evolution. And that's why this financial literacy is so important, component in peace, but also evolving past these ambitions in our current level of aspirations, because Gucci sales did not go down because of the so-called boycott. In fact, they did exceedingly well. They did good. The popularity is still there. The sales went up. They did great. Why? Because black people and people on this planet, in the American context, we want things that's not for us. We want things like our aspiration is connected to our ambitions. They're right there connected, meaning that they never had to advertise this to you, but because they didn't advertise this to you, now you want it, because you want to aspire to be more, to be deserving of that thing, right? So we have to evolve past our current state, this monkey mind, this egoist mind, to want those things, so that we evolve past these marketing ploys, plots, and plans, right? Because when you become more, those things no longer serve your interests. So when you gain more, you won't utilize the function of your money, your tools, your finances to actually get those things. You have surpassed that concept. So the old tricks don't work. So when we become more, those old models of measuring what black people will be in the future is much harder statistically to analyze, because in 1 year we had an enlightenment, we had a renaissance, we became more than that old model that they currently stuck us in. Now, this is something you have to ask yourself, is that if I only get a certain amount of time on this planet Earth, do I want to spend all of it gaining more or becoming more, right? Because people are going to remember what you become, not what you gained, right? If I was walking down the street next to Bill Gates and I never knew one impression of any advancement, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. His energy wouldn't hit me or nothing. You understand me? But you walking down the street next to an individual like myself or one of the shifters, you're gonna feel that resonant energy vibrating off of that person. You're gonna know that they're powerful. You're gonna know that they're strong. And then you're also just within a quick conversation. So anyway, let's get to some tangible thought processes. You know, I'm not gonna call nobody stupid for paying an extreme amount for clothing if they have the amount of money that they want to utilize that money for, and if that money is expense for things of that nature and it doesn't hurt them. The reason people gain large amount of money is so that they can spend large amounts of money, and they spend large amounts of money based on what's been curated to them of perceived value. So I don't think it's stupidity per se, for anyone to do it. Now, a person that doesn't have that money is ignorance, and it's a lack of knowledge that will make a person want to do something of that nature. But I'm not gonna sit here and call a person stupid. I don't think that that's I don't think that that's intelligent. So, our people, we like to be fly. We like to have nice things, and that's okay. Like I said, I don't have a problem with a person gaining or doing whatever they want to do with their money, especially if you're taking care of your business. And when you take care of your business, you are allowed to do that which you will with your money. You understand me? And by business, I'm talking about managing your life right, doing your charities, doing your work, doing your goods. However you want to spend the residuals, that's cool. Because one person may be spending money on clothing and the other person may be spending that same amount of money on something else that can be considered in the same category. And so we all have our wants, our needs, our desires, things of that nature. So yeah, that's the difference, right? A man might buy a car, a woman might buy a purse. It's different. Um, Let me go into this though. So the whole idea of this topic, and some of you all may have heard me speak on this before. And it's about the black dream, right? How much you say an interview with you cost again? Oh man, price done went up, Don Jones. Now I don't know. Tap in, brother. Let me know what you're trying to do. It says we talking about the black dream, and this is the way I want you all to be able to conceptualize your reality and create balance within your life, right? And so, people believe in cosmic shifts, and there, of course, cosmic shifts are real, but also people allow astrology and allow things to dictate instead of dictating that which they allow within them lives. And this is important, right? And in a day like Twitter and or social media goes awry, a lot of people are falling into chaos, right? And not many people can deal with chaos. Men are particularly worse at dealing with chaos when it comes to like financial chaos and things of that nature, because of emotional intelligence. And a lot of people today are lacking even more emotional intelligence. Astronomy is real. Astrology can be opinion based, and it depends, right? So the astrology can be a lot of guesswork. And the dangerous part with astrology is once you believe something is real, once you believe something, it's real, right? So you are left to the whims of what you read, and then it creates the perception, it creates a feeling, and then it cultivates your reality and drives your reality. You understand me? So you have to be dangerous in what you believe. I'm just saying, because we powerful beings, very, very powerful. So you create that which you believe in. All right, it says the reason the black dream is qualified to be different is because the black dream is more about spiritual fulfillment, where the American dream is about fulfilling your capitalist success. Living in America, you end up with two minds, the Eurocentric mind and the Afrocentric mind, for lack of better words. In order to be successful, it is important to have a balance within both. I think of mental duality as material and spiritual. On one hand, in order to be wealthy in this country, you have to learn the science of business and capitalism. The white man has perfected this science of business. He has built entire nations and a system based off his mastery of this study. Though business can be square cubicle chambers of commerce with no soul attached. In fact, it has been said that the lack of empathy has made, hold on, Instagram is tripping, for good business leaders. According to Dr. Atra Swart, a neuroscientist, psychiatrist in residence at Corintha Hall, psychopathy is a spectrum we all fall on somewhere. However, what separates us is our ability to feel empathy. A psychopath's diagnosis requires a lot of boxes to be ticked. Come on now. Hold on. Instagram is tripping. Anyway, Instagram is tripping, so I'm just trying to wait. It says a psychopath requires a lot of boxes to be ticked, such as ruthlessness, narcissism, pervasiveness, an inlay ability to feel guilt, and an inability to see things from another person's perspective. The theory has also something called, there's a theory that has something called with the resilience to chaos. Psychopaths thrive on chaos and know that other people find it very stressful. Swartz said on Thursday at an event called oh shit, Instagram tripping. They just kicked me all the way out. Luckily, I got this on YouTube and I'm no longer dependent on Instagram to document things. That's why I got to get my own app. Okay, got to tap in with Dana Chanel and then got to get this on app, people. Hold on, y'all. I know. Dark side. Yeah, they tripping today. But I got all of this is going to be on YouTube and going to be on the podcast. So don't worry about that. And I've been uploading new podcasts. So I'm not tripping. So it says they also have something called resilience to chaos. Psychopaths thrive on chaos and know other people find it very stressful. Swar said on Thursday at an event called The Dark Side of Leadership held at Corintha. They will purposely create chaos in the environment because they find it easier to cope than other people. This was written in Business Insider UK by Linda Dogson. It is said that 1% of the world are psychopaths, which would make sense when you think about 1% of the work or 1% of the world is ruled by 1% of the population. In order to be an effective business leader, it is important to rise above emotions. Business is about making capital, and America is a capitalist society founded by psychopaths. Being in America, speaking the American language of English, living by the customs of America, you develop Eurocentric mindset towards business, values, goals, and success. You learn to thrive in chaos and be non-emotional in business. I would equate our business minded function with our Eurocentric side of thinking. It is mostly what we equate to our material world. If you are a world travel from the US, you will find out just how Eurocentric your mind is. This can be a good or bad thing depending on how you balance it out. You can use all things to your advantage because we've been in this capitalist society, we should master this mindset. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that learn from the white man because he makes no excuses for his failures and works together in a collective manner. We must learn from the masters of business so you can adapt to their pattern of thinking. A pattern in this context means a plan or model used as a guide for making something. a model that is considered to be worthy of imitation. Learning of a man is the learning of his inner workings of his mind, which gives you the spirit out of which he does what he does. And this is why God is using him, right? So there's three sciences um, that they never teach us, you know, and that's the science of business, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. When a person is busy, they're active. And this right here is from the final call. When a person is busy, they're active. So the science of business is a science of life activity. The life activity that is dedicated by the nature in which we were use that what God has already put here to become productive, to be producers. So the science of business is the knowledge of how to satisfy the natural needs of a human being in the manner that pleases God. Business, which takes, of course, into consideration the acquisition of wealth, the proper use of wealth or the creation of wealth, the making of a product, the sale and distribution of one makes, the creation of a means of satisfying necessities, food, clothing, shelter, trade, commerce, etc. All of this is really a science. When one does not know, then we are subjected to the one who does know. We become their servant and at worst, their slave. So the enemy wanted to keep us as perpetual slaves to the one who does know. We become their servant. Oh, hold on. Then we must become familiar with what we don't know, so that it would free us from the state of dependency that a slave existence determines upon. Come on now. Come on now. Let's get into the rest of this. It says Black and African people are not naturally inclined to business thinking, at least in the American capitalist sense. We are inherently a spiritual people. Now, that's not to say that there's not a lot of prime examples of us being able to thrive in business when there is not a chaotic environment that is consistently distracting us from thinking clearly. And we can see that Madam C.J. Walker, Marcus Garvey, you know, some of the early pioneers and millionaires in business, and Elijah Muhammad, a bunch of different people. So we have great examples and proof of our ability when we have balance, we can do very great in business. But listen, we value that which comes from our spirit. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad denotes, the unseen air in atoms is spirit. If you choke a person, then they no longer have access to spirit. You cannot move without air. You cannot dance, sing, rap, draw, paint without air, because without air, there is no life. The spirit is that which allows your body operation and expression of that operation using your body is spiritual in nature. Black people have always been spiritual. When we rap, that is an act of spiritual expression using your voice. When we dance, that is an act of spiritual expression using your body. We play basketball or any sports, it is a spiritual operation of physicality. We always have equated that which comes from within our measure to what we believe is successful. If you take Jay-Z, Kevin Hart, Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar to Africa without none of their material wealth, just their passions and just their spirit and just their talent, they will still be able to produce $1 billion empire, because it is a spirit that is most valuable within Black people. Which is why Black dreams have always involved the expression of oneself. So I'm not mad at the young brothers and sisters that want to be singers, artists, and dancers, because they are trying to fulfill their spiritual ambitions. But you have to learn how to marry their spiritual expression and creative force with the science of business to create value and become masters. We often measure ourselves by the European standards. We are a different people, at least part of us. It is true this world is based off the white man's intellect. Our world, I'm sure, would look more like Wakanda with graffiti murals on the wall of our science laboratories and vibrant colors, not white walls and square architect that's used to control the mind. We move with spirit and must be a spiritual fulfilled people in order to be happy. But most only know how to measure their Eurocentric mind, because modern psychology has been providing us with the white man's measuring stick. which are unreal models and standards for our people. It is important we separate the difference and also have our own measuring standard for the spiritual and psychological standard of blacks. The psychology of blacks. According to Joseph L. White, the African American perspective can be seen in behaviors, attitudes, feelings, expressive patterns, and values of black. Furthermore, it provides blacks with a way of interpreting reality and relating to others, as well as a general design for living. The second edition continues to hold the same assumption. So, what is a discipline called black psychology? Perhaps the most logical place to begin with is the definition that goes into the construct of psychology of blacks and with the discussion of why a black psychological perspective is necessary. Psychology has been around for thousands of years and dates back to ancient Kemet, Africa, Egypt, civilizations. It is the truest form. Psychology was defined by ancient Africans as a study of the soul or spirit. A summary reading of our ancient mythology reveals that ancient Egyptian thought can be characterized as passing ideas of thought, which represents the human capacity to have will and invent or create. Ideas of command, which represent the human capacity to have intent and to produce that which one wills. Parenthetically, these two, will and intent, are characteristics of divine spirit and would serve as the best operationalization of human intelligence. Nobles further asserts that psychology borrowed from Africa and popularized in Europe and America. The so-called Western psychology, in some respects, represents a distortion of ancient African Egyptian thoughts. What the ancients believed was the study of the soul or spirit was translated by Europeans in a study of only one element of a person's psychic nature, the mind. Thus, the term psychology in a Western context dependent upon the meaning or the usage of the word psyche, meaning mind, and the fragmentology, meaning knowledge, is generally assumed to be a study of human behavior. In their attempt to explain that they consider to be universal human phenomena, Euro-American psychologists implicitly began to establish a normative standard of behavior against which all cultural groups would be measured. What emerged as normal or abnormal, sane or insane, relevant was always in comparison to how closely a particular thought or behavior paralleled that of white Europeans and or Euro-Americans. We are a different people whose mind have been mixed in with European thinking, cognition, and values. But that is not who we are. When you ask most black people what do they want to do, you will find that the root of their will is an expression of their spirit through arts. To be godly is to be a creator. The practice of art is also the practice of creation. Some people have an emotional intelligence, which makes us a great people. It is our spiritual intelligence. When a young black child says they want to be a singer or artist, you have to understand they are inclined to seek things that fulfill their spirit and express their soul. We created forms of music, maple leaf, ragtime, blues, R&B, hip hop for this very reason. We play athletics, sports, and it's something that we can use our bodies and look at how we can create the mastery because it involves breathing in the spirit. Just like when we would created the Negro Leagues and were able to start our own, we were being a spiritual people then. By spirit, hold on, my spirit against yours and the greatest team spirit wins. But at that time, we didn't know the science of business because if we did, we wouldn't have let them take our league, integrate within their energies, and allow us to control our expression and own our spiritual purpose. We would own it, which would secure our future. So, our lack of knowledge has always set us back. Our ignorance has always been our real lack of resources, and it's always been exploited. And that's why those who know business will always be the master, and those who don't know business will always be the slave. And that's why it's important to have an understanding of self so that you can cultivate a balance. And in that balance, you learn mastery. One way of the slave thinking comes from, Christianized behavior, of course. And in the slave paradigm, they think that everything that the master does is wrong because they don't want to be like the master because the master of that which is one who oppresses them. And so they think that their morality is better than the master's, right? So they don't create their own values, create their own systems, because that's what the master did. And the master believes his morality is superior because he creates the values, he creates the religion, he creates the ideology for the slave. And in this danger, the slave never becomes a master because he believes that his morality is superior than the master, and everything connected to the master he shuns in opposition of. And so we have to get over our connection to our trauma, truly heal, enlighten ourselves so we can get into a renaissance, us as a general population of people. All right, at this time, I'll take questions. Most people think that they need no, I'm planning on dropping 2 books, which I am long overdue. That was actually from my book. So one is going to be about mind management, and the other one is going to be about 19 keys. Those who will be the master of business will. Not will be. Those, you got to look at reality. Those who are the masters of business are the masters, because the consumer is controlled by the one who knows business. And so you have to shift the paradigm into a masterful way of thinking, not in the morality of the master in the sense that you want to own slaves and you want to do things in an unrighteous manner, but in the intelligence of the master becoming sovereign and have the ability to form your own reality and control your own reality. So there's a big difference. And a lot of people, are employed into this slave thinking, no pun intended, but just the employment and the aspiration that one day I want to get a job for someone else is a very slave way of thinking, and I'm going to put it like this, and a lot of people say it's harsh, and here's the thing: I'm not against jobs. Everybody needs something to do. I'm against the dependency of a job, and I'm against the outlook in this thought that your potential stops at this, when your potential is much bigger than this thing and much bigger than this specialized skill that you cultivated. It is. And nobody can tell me that there's not a human being that was born for just one particular, oh, you can only do this. No. And so even if you're not going to be a business person, it is definitely important to have business knowledge, because that allows you to even move better and to navigate this industry, right? And it also allows you to be able to thrive even in the chaos, right? Because you're always, an entrepreneur is supposed to be a problem solver and add value to humanity, right? So if you are in business and you are more and you understand business strategy and you understand management, you understand things work, then you understand your place and how to get to that next level, because it's all business. And in a lot of these jobs, you all take things serious or personal, rather. This person didn't give me this person didn't give me that, and this and the third. Well, if you look at things from a business aspect, a lot of what you're complaining about, you will understand. But when you are on the side of being an employee, it's different to see the perspective of a boss. Why I will push this person up here instead of this person, even though you feel, which is an emotion, which is not supposed to be connected to the business thinking, right? Which is why you feel you should get this, or you deserve this, or you earn that. And a business person is not going to put his emotions into the business. He is going to operate and make a business decision. Oh, I'm not getting the value out of this business. Let me leave and go somewhere else, which is why I told people about the 3-month model of how to go from one job to another, consistently climbing up the ladder, right? But that's business thinking in a non-emotional manner, and you're supposed to steal from the job and steal the knowledge from the job and steal the experience from the job so you can constantly climb up. It should be aspirational, that you use your ambition to constantly become more in whatever industry that you're in and eventually become the industry leader. Most don't realize a lot of different things. And that's why I say one of my strikes with our current thought leading community is that we gotten away from a lot of the aspirations. We gotten away from a lot of the esoteric, gotten away from a lot of the metaphysical, but that is the language that we understand the most, right? Because your self-image says a lot about your ambition, and it says a lot about what cultivates your will and your drive to do. Because if I believe that I am the supreme being, if I believe that I am a God, if I believe that I am a boss, if I believe that I'm this person on the inner, then I'm going to do everything in my power so that my reality represents my inner self-image. And that's why it's important that we do that inner work, so that all of the work and steps that we do outward represents that, right? Because it's hard to really believe that you're a God, but you broke, and you're like, wait a minute, if I'm a God, I'm supposed to have powers of manifestation, right? But if you don't have knowledge, how can you have power of manifestation? That's just a feeling not connected to the ritual incantation that you need to do in order to bring these things out, right? So we can't get caught up where we have all of these spiritual rituals with no material manifestation. And then we can't have all of this material manifestation with no spiritual cultivation. They have to be in balance. Your life got to stay in balance, B. But that coffee be hitting. Your emotions are always helpful for you. I'm gonna answer these questions. So somebody said, "Learn to love again" on YouTube. Said, "When are your emotions helpful to us?" Your emotions are your GPS. They're your spiritual guide. They're your intuition, if you will. And you have to learn to listen to self. It's just that you rise above emotions, right? So you don't let them drive you. So emotions are your sensors to reality, because you can feel something is off about a person, but you have to learn why that is. And then when you self-aware, you realize that sometimes it can be you. You understand me? Like you can be, and that's why where emotional intelligence come from, because you can know whether you're feeling something off about that person because you're jealous of this person, or it's something that's wrong with you rather than them, or you're feeling something off and you're very self-aware and you know why. It's like, oh, I'm already seeing this person as a liar, or this person is this and that and the third. And that's why it's very important to understand your emotions, right? And don't let them drive you, because if you're angry, anger can drive a person to do something that's not reasonable, right? But it's all about rising above emotions, because the man who can control his emotions, you understand me, can rule the world, rule your world. But emotions, we are human beings. Having empathy for a human being is a very important thing. And emotions are vibrations. They are our frequency. Is what sends out the signal to attract things into our world. Our emotional intelligence speaks way more than our rational intelligence. Our heart speaks way more than our mind. Our heart is the one that attracts things to us. It's not just our mind. It's when you can get your mind to suggest the emotion, then it starts to vibrate, and then you send out that signal, right? But that's why I say you have to change your habits at a subconscious level, because that subconscious function, that's the mind that controls emotions. You understand me? That's the mind that is emotion based. That's the feminine aspect of your brain and your thinking. So once you learn how to control your emotions and control your thoughts, and you can have them lined up where you think one thing and you feel the same thing about what you think, you're aligning your mind and your heart. You understand me? And when those are working together, everything aligns and everything is sync. Like my brother said, everything wins. But a lot of people mind there, but their heart not there, or your heart there, but your mind is not there. And so when you align those together, then that's when you are fully capable of manifesting things. Because you got to feel it. You got to believe it. You understand me? Like, you got to feel what you're talking about. You can't just think, you got to feel that shit too. Sounds like those who are... All right. Hold on, brother. Relax. I'm seeing the questions. Relax. Practice makes perfect with everything. And so if you want to become... For one, here's the thing. Always write down your reasons why you want to do things. If I want to become a better speaker, I'm going to figure out why I want to become a better speaker. and so finding your reasons keeps you on that path of discipline towards achieving that goal set. But at the same time, it takes practice, right? A person that's just thinking about becoming a better speaker will never become a better speaker. A person that is practicing speech will become a better speaker. And listening to those who are better speakers, you start to subconsciously take on the pattern of thinking that they have. You start to mirror that ability of speaking very well. And so I used to feel like I spoke a little bit with like a lisp when I spoke. So I would practice being able to speak in front of other people, that function of speaking. But I've been speaking in front of every people since I was younger. But practice is it true, right? So if I'm practicing speaking, then it becomes better. You got to go through these operations and these practices. And in that function, it's going to become, you're just going to have an unconscious mastery over language and learning new words and learning new things. Like I do a lot of different things to practice, and it depends on if you just regular speaking in conversation with confidence, or you talking about speaking so that you can get paid in front of people, because it goes from storytelling, it goes from being a crowd control, it goes from understanding the emotions of the crowd. Like there's an art of speaking and studying. For one, as I always say, you can't become unless you study. So you got to study these things for one, right? Because then you find that to be the answer. Study and practice what you've learned and execute. Right? There's many different ways. So, I've been studying this since I was a child. We've all been speaking since we've been a child. And, we should ask everybody else, is like, because other people that's been around you for a long time know you pretty well. And so ask people like, what's the worst thing about my communication skills? And practice improving those things that's not good about your communication skills, for one. Right? You understand me? I have the ability of speaking towards what people are thinking on the inside, because I'm creating their thought for them to think next. So I say it like this. If I'm bringing up a new subject and I know you a Christian, or I know you an atheist or whatever, I know by me saying certain things, it's going to provoke certain thoughts and questions. So when I say one thing, and I know it provoked that thought and that question, then I'm also in my next saying, I'm going to answer that question, right? And so that's one of the tactics that I like to use. And so I did that in sales, right? Because if I say one thing and I study my customer base and I study based on different crowds, different races, I know they're going to be thinking different things. Then I'll be like, all right, cool, right? You thought like this, or I said this, now it's going to make you ask this question. So guess what? My next line is answering that question. So you set up your speaking patterns to answer the questions that you are creating in a person's mind. And that becomes what they're becoming very empathetic and understanding how a person feels and how a person thinks, because you're going to be creating these emotions as you're speaking. And if you can understand and you have empathy towards how other people feel, then you're able to answer those questions based off those emotions that you are creating. There is no even comparison between the Nation of Islam and the Israelite. I could answer that question like a lot more, but there's not even. Nobody ever asked me what's the difference. It's kind of like, yeah, it's completely different. The nation is the Nation of Islam. It's based on Islamic practice. So I would implore you to just do some study on, what is the Nation of Islam and what is an Israelite, because those are two different things, So yeah. Yep. Most of the time if somebody asks me the difference between Nation of Islam and like Orthodox Islam, or like, Shiite Muslims, or the Middle Eastern Muslims, or something that's actually closely related because it's under the umbrella of Islam. I learned that skill being a casino table games dealer. Being quick on your feet is so beneficial. Yeah, a lot of people don't have wits these days, and wits is getting lost because we use phones, we use texts. We don't have to think quickly, right? Somebody sends us something, and or we get time to think about what our answer is going to be, or we throw in an emoji that's an image that's supposed to be wit, but it's not. You're not practicing wit anymore in conversations, you know. So a lot of people, that skill is diminishing when you're not speaking to people consistently and you have to be witty. So a lot of these human skills, you know, are dying out just because people are not putting them in practice. Being witty is dope as hell, but a lot of people can't be witty. And that's why, you know, people are intimidated by other people who are. Yeah, well, you know, we can definitely do consultations. You gotta hit me the DM. We can set up consultations. I've been doing those with people. All right, let me see. Is there any other questions here? No one should stay in the same job for a long period of time. That's what our parents did. Pull our value out and bounce. I like that. I think it's important to know your mind, not business. Your mind, your thoughts and vibrations, you're a powerful part. Most people don't have control over their mind. That's the problem. The system as it is insane. Okay. I think, all right, anyway. So that's my thoughts for the day, for the evening, rather. I'm working on getting everything to you all, this course, the supplement, you know, working with different businesses, doing B2B. I'm still open to working with different people who have businesses, and, you know, helping doing brand consultations and marketing development for you all. A lot of people hit me up about, can you advertise my business? And before you need advertisements, you need a consultation, because I don't want to advertise something that I don't think has reached its full potential, or it's not aesthetically pleasing, or it's just not done correctly. And a lot of people are, and here's the thing, a lot of people are afraid of, you know, constructive criticism, but a lot of us need constructive criticism, because I know a lot of people who are popular and they sell a product, and the product sells because they're popular, not because it's a good product. And that means that it won't have life over time. It's not something that's classic. It's not something that can be passed down. So I'll always say that, imagine if you had no popularity and people hated you. Design as if people hate you, and you're trying to make a product that's going to make them love you, right? So do it in that way. Don't just try to capitalize off, you know, oh, these are family and friends, they should buy from me. You understand me? Or I have a following, people should buy from me. No, they should buy from you because you created an exceptional product. You've done your research. You cultivated the elements within the design, and you're also competing with high level, you know, brands, right? So why would somebody buy your brand over a Gucci brand unless your brand is curated in the same aesthetic as a Gucci, right? Because they put in 100 years worth of work. So we have to not be so naive to say that, oh, I automatically qualify for your business because I'm an entrepreneur, but no, I qualify for your business because I've studied my industry and I decided to make the best product that's possible. And one of my advice to all creatives is, especially when you're making a product that has a meaning, and you should never make anything that don't have a meaning, you know, but make sure that you create the design first and then the meaning second, right? So I want people to look at my design and be like, yo, that's amazing. What does that mean? Right? That should be it. But a lot of people haven't done these studies. I do the study and I take hours and hours and hours and hours understanding, not only from my aspect of design for this European, whether it's Asian, whether it's African, you know, all sorts of different things, because there's people that's been in these industries that have created products and things of the nature that went on to sell billions, and they also went on to shape the culture and create the industry. So I want to study from the people who've done what I want to do. And a lot of people haven't done none of that study. And then they just create something and you can tell. And then they say, yo, Link, can I send you this product? And it's like, I've never wanted so much free shit in my life. And then I've never turned down so much free shit in my life. Because if you give me something and I don't like it, then what is? So what I might do is this one I'm gonna start doing, matter of fact. I will release my PO box and I'll let people send me product, but I will do reviews on your product. So you have to be open to constructive criticism. And then if you want a consultation after my review, then we can work on making your business better. So I'm gonna give you Dieter Rams, and this is just free game. I'm gonna give you Dieter Rams principles of good design. And you can look up who Dieter Rams is later. Good design is innovative. Good design makes a product useful. Let's just start with innovative. Innovative is like create something different, man. Create something different. People not innovating. A great leader of innovation right now is Virgil Abloh. If you look at how he's designing his clothing and he's giving out free game on how to design and how to do that, he's making sure that everything is innovative. Number two is a good design makes a product useful. So what is the application of usefulness, right? So you have to make sure that everything that you design and every design that is useful. Good design aesthetic, you know what I mean? So that's clean. You understand me? It looks good, it feels good. Like how or what you're creating is how is it evoking the feeling in people? Like that clean aesthetic. Like think about the apple clear with the bitten apple in a minute. That's a clean aesthetic. Everything about Apple is about clean aesthetics. They actually got their design and they stole a lot from Dieter Rams and they use these principles. Good design makes a product understandable. You understand me? Like as soon as I look at your product, I want to be able to understand what it is, what it does. When I look at your logo, I want to understand what it is, what it does. You know, it should tell me about your business. A good design is unobtrusive. A lot of people deal with this. You know, we are flashy people. We like to do a lot. It's you putting so many components instead of clearing it up and allowing just some components to live on there, and that's enough. And you have to know when to stop instead of making it cluttered. A good design is honest, you know, and it's like how do you make an honest design? You just create something that's true, and you create, and that's enough. You don't have to go overboard with your project and what you're creating and what you're doing, you know, in a function of think about the usefulness of everything that you put into it. Like if I'm creating and this is looking at the iPhone, is it got one button here. Anything that's not useful is just not there. It's not there. I'm only going to put things that's honest, that's just there. I'm not going to make it over the top than what it is. No, if I'm creating a phone, I only want something that looks like a phone. You understand me? But people try to go above and beyond and luxurize a product, and then a person feel like they're being lied to because it's over marketed. At least that's one of my that's my very like quick breakdown. And I think I'm gonna make a course about design. Um Let me see. A good design is thorough down to the last detail. Every single detail should be taken care of. You understand me? All of the smallest details that you can think of when you're creating something, think of making a work of art. It all matters. So think about making the money last, but think about making the product down to its last detail first. And every detail should be useful. It should say something about the product. It should be clean. A good design is environmental friendly. That's, you know, is something not being obtrusive and overt. Like it shouldn't take up too much space. You understand me? It shouldn't be an eyesore, whatever it may be. A good design is as little design as possible, which may be the most important one. A good design is as little design as possible. You understand me? It's like you have to know when to stop designing and when you got a good enough product. So I'm not going to go into what all those mean deeply because you got to, you know, get a course or a consultation for all of that. But that's just some free game to think about, you know, the 10 principles of good design that you can use to implement into your design strategy. Because I want to see dope shit out here. I'm tired of seeing stuff that's not dope. You know, when I first created Musa Hill, everything was dope to the detail. You understand me? It was a company I made, and I have so many people who aspired because of what I designed that was innovative, that wasn't truthful, that was honest, that's long lasting, that's classic. And when something is long lasting, I'm thinking of I want to create products that you can pass down to your grandchildren. You understand me? Like, have you ever went into your grandfather's or grandmother's closet or something that they're made and the design was timeless. Come on, brother Westside Marv, relax. If I wanted to drop the wizard card, whatever, brother. I see it. Relax. I'm glad you so, you know what I mean, enthused, but we gotta relax. It's kind of like you're yelling at me. You're yelling at me. You understand me? But I appreciate you. Just relax. I can't wait to drop the date. Okay, believe me, brother out there yelling. He put all them apostrophes out there. YouTube, the brother out here yelling at me. But I love that enthusiasm, though. I appreciate you. He put, what about 10 apostrophes? Ooh, snap. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate the enthusiasm. So yeah, I'm open this week. I got some consultations Friday that I have to finish up and some next week, but I'm open next week more so. And so I'll be putting a link in my bio for the consultation. And there's also, if you have an iPhone, it's easier as well, because we can go ahead and do video, or we can do video through the DM through Instagram, however we want to set that up. It really doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I'm really calm, but I'm not that damn calm. Like, I ain't somebody you should play with. You understand me? I'm just gonna put it like that. In real life, because I'm only so cool, and I'm not gonna pretend that I haven't mastered all my coolness. And so, many people have caught that side of me, but I'm cool. I'm cool for the most part. Miss Wright, what's up with you? Miss Wright, when we going live, man? We ain't never tapped in yet. I probably got another 5 minutes. When you coming to Miami, how can I be self-sufficient also running? Slave condition and seek for a higher purpose. Well, you gotta change your environment, my G. Gotta change your environment. Come on, we can get in for about 2 minutes. Yeah, man, I'm a pretty calm individual though. I be meditating every morning, man. When you meditate every morning, it helps you. It helps you. Before I look at a phone, before I take a shower, before I get out 2 feet out the bed, I'm meditating. What's going on, good sister? How you doing?
Hi. I think it still says connecting on my end.
I hear you. I see you. You coming in clear. Thank you, Learn to Love. Okay.
Can I come back out and come back in on my cell phone and see what happens?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I know people want to see themselves. Right, I understand. People got to see themselves. Thank you, Learn to Love on YouTube. You know what I mean? She didn't send $10. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's love right there. That's love. Love is an action word. Okay. Love is an action word. My Cash App is messed up, so I can't even use that. That's crazy. They keep messing with my Cash App. I don't know why. I don't do nothing but get money on Cash App. I thought that's what you're supposed to do. There, can you see yourself now? Is your reflection there?
It's really interesting because that's okay, because I'm about to be a creep and watch it on my iPad.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
It says live video paused.
So how the good sister doing? You looking spectacular. You got your spectacles on and everything. You looking like intellectually engaged over there.
Thank you. I do what I can. I'm actually sitting here about to write up a claim letter.
Okay. Oh, that's why you got them. You serious right now. You got to get that money.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially when you got to feed the babies. And
yeah.
You live your best life.
Black people get real serious when it's time to, collect some cash. You turn into lawyers and everything.
I'm asking myself, should I just get a lawyer for this?
Hey.
But I'm gonna see if I can get very focused for the next maybe 30 minutes to an hour. If not, I'm just probably gonna pass this on to somebody who's got the time and the energy.
Yeah, whoever can do it. So, good sister, you seem like a person who is who knows how to thrive in chaos. And that's sort of been the topic of it, as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as an influencer, as someone who wants to continue to live, and it's interesting because lately I've been studying stoicism, and it's basically going through hardships and going through many different things without complaining. And it's a practice of stoicism is great in the essence that it allows you to just focus on the work and get things done. And because complaining takes a lot of time, actually. And people don't realize how much time it takes to complain, and it kills productivity and it raises stress and it lowers IQ. And so, there's been great Stoics throughout time that's been able to lead like great campaigns and become successful over long periods of time while dealing with a lot, but not complaining about it. Hold on, we about to get this back in. IG just cut me off. Time to get back in. What's up, Nas Green? Put this right here. Put that right there. So if y'all want to get one of these mugs, the mugs are online. All right, let me see if I can get the good sister back. Instagram cut me off. I'm trying to be consistent, as y'all can see, and do this every day. It's tough, but I've been working on it. All right, so I was talking about stoicism, and it's for a reason, because if you look at it like this, right? Your critical self is your more stoic self. That's more critical thinking, focusing on what's important. And there's a divide between a person being experiential, meaning they just want to do things to have fun, to YOLO, to live and be in the moment. That has really nothing to do with their responsibilities, their goals, or anything of that nature. But then you always have this critical self that gets drowned out by that person. And what suffers the most is your future self, right? Your present self can have a lot of fun, but your future self is going to either deal with the rewards of you being critical and doing what you need to do, or it's going to deal with the detriment of you being experiential and having fun in the moment and just living life. And so in this thought process, it allows people to create your future self, because you're going to have to live with that version, right? And so in parenthood, and as a mother, as an influencer, or all of the many titles that I'm sure you encompass, how do you think, and I'm just like creating and forming a question as I go along, but how do you think new parenthood should be done, in the sense that, like, social media is documenting everything, right? So your children are going to be able to look at everything that you've done in a way that we can't pierce at our parents. That they told us they was good back in the day, we just gotta believe it. Right. If mom said that she never twerked, you gotta believe she never twerked. But today everything is documented. So I wonder, does that play any role in in your thought process, as far as making decisions daily?
It's really interesting how you preface this, right? Especially with the way that we teach and our perspectives and how we view life. So we have a lot of similarities and we have a lot of shared values. What's really interesting, though, is you were talking about Stoicism and prepping for your future life based upon the decisions that you are making presently. However, focusing more on the future, that's not something I actually represent or teach now. Mm-hmm. As a parent, we tend to get so caught up in trying to make sure that we're this better future self, that our kids are this better future self, that we suffer through lots of anxiety.
I got you, Billy.
We suffer through lots of disconnect, and we lose sight of presence, right? And so as you were sitting here talking about, the YOLO idea, which there's a pendulum of that, right? There's this whole spectrum of what YOLO looks like, depending on who you are, where you come from, what your programming looks like, and what you're trying to unlearn, as we say, or like reprogram. So for me, YOLO looks completely different than, let's say, a colleague who's single, doesn't really have any children,
right?
Isn't necessarily making decisions that are involving younger life and that which we are shaping, right? You're only worried about like shaping your own. So as in like some YOLO may be like, go to the club, sure, let's try heroin today. That might be nice.
Hey,
you know,
I don't think that. I hope that's nobody's YOLO. Let's try heroin today.
Right, but we do.
That's YOLO. That's you only die once. Come on.
But we know that is a thing, and we know that everybody makes these decisions based upon what like living for the now looks like. My living for the now looks completely different. Like my living for the now is like, oh my God, how much more calm can I be? Right? How much more present can I be with my children? What would ensure that I can still nurse my growing child and well into like age 3 or 4? Or how can I who do I cuddle today? How do I make sure like my kids are feeling nurtured and nourished? So as opposed to being like, oh well, let me get up and figure out how I got to do this and got to do that and make sure that my kids aren't angry. And keep in mind, it is still this looming thought process of like, I want to ensure that I have this amazing, happy person. And I know that a lot of that is contingent upon if I'm happy, if I'm cared for, if I'm nourished, right? If I'm being nurtured, if I'm nurturing myself, if I'm making commitments to myself, if I'm honoring commitments to myself, am I being loyal to my higher self, to my best self, right? Because then all that will project into the children and permeate throughout my household. Now, when we talk about these decisions and what they look like on social media, I can only speak for myself. Like I can advocate for myself. And I know that a lot of people resonate with what it is that I say, but my platform literally is just me sharing my life and occasionally cracking a little joke too about my life.
You seem to communicate that very well, though, as far as what you do and what you mean by what you do. Because a lot of people may do it, but they don't communicate it well as far as like how they want you to take it. But I think yours is taken in context pretty well. And so that's different. But at the same time, I want to context time and what the future means to me. Because I'm not thinking of the future in like, 10 years, 20 years. Like the future is the next few seconds. Like if I eat good today, tomorrow I'm gonna feel better. Right. So it's like even the concept of the future, a lot of people put it in like long terms. But for me, the future and the present are simultaneous events. And so it's like what you're doing right now, you reap the benefits of it right now, and you just continuously reap the benefits of good decision making, forever.
And it's ever changing. So the thing about being a parent and having multiple children is that you have to consistently shift upon what each child needs. And that's really interesting. So for example, Shannon may grow up and see my platform and be like, man, my mom was so fucking cool. She honored herself and it inspires me to be honored, like to be my true self, and inspires me to go hard and live life to the fullest. And if nobody likes it, who gives a fuck? I'm going to do it anyway because I'm loving on me. However, Satori may look at that same platform and say, my mom was fucking thotting and bopping out here in these streets selling all the goddamn business. Why is she always telling like this? Did I really have to be on a titty in every other picture, mother? Did I have to?
Right.
Right? And the thing is, it may not even matter. Breastfeeding may not even be a thing anybody cares about now because everybody's doing it, right? Even though right now it's still like, ooh. However, that's the beauty about these decisions is that you have this, we talk about reflection oftentimes. Like you'll talk about reflection and looking back, and to be able to reflect and be able to see what you've done, look at it and say, is this still working? Right? I understand that I did these for these reasons, this intention, however, were my actions aligned with intent? And that's really just saying, is my speech matching up with my action? When speech is aligned with action, that's true. And there's nothing wrong. And as long as that is in play, then you can be good about it. People can receive it however it is they need to, but you'll continue to reap the benefits of living in truth. And then so as each child continues to kind of like operate in that or look at that, they'll flow with it is. And the beauty is that as long as mothers operating in truth should be able to guide, direct, and have these honest, open conversations. You did say, I really do a good job at informing those who are watching me a very clear understanding of love, right? For my children, of self-love, self-care, of understanding of mindfulness, because that's what it is. I pride myself on being able to do self-love and expression balanced with mindfulness, right? And that's being cognizant of how so many different people may perceive it. Now, do I shift completely in what it is that I'm doing, or how am I worried about how people are going to perceive me? No. However, I do operate with a sense of mindfulness.
You're very present.
Very present.
And
I pride myself on that. And that is the present that you talked about, is that demonstrating grace under pressure. My circumstances are not considered ideal. I'm not this married woman with this big rock on my finger, flying private jets every day. You know, I'm like, yeah.
But ideal is a concept of what particular time you in as well. Because like you say, in the future, the ideal situation could be yours. And so language is contexted through what time is. Like if somebody was to read, like just in 2007 or 10 years ago, if somebody were reading your texts that you're creating today, they might not understand the language because the context is different. Like laugh out loud is a new acronym. They might not know what that meant, you know, or if people 1,000 years from now are reading laugh out loud, they actually think that that's what happened. Or like just language wouldn't be understood. So now, and so here's the big difference. Like if you live in the present, it's different, right? And we are spiritual people. That's just what I just got talking about, is about spirituality. Spirituality is being in the present. In the context of technology is interesting because now we have gotten to this place where as long as technology exists, so does every action that's put on technology. You know, it takes away from the spiritual component, and it creates a lineage. It creates a time frame. I'm not sure how all of our data will be used in the future, or how people will perceive things. And then of course it matters what image that you want to put out there, and who you are and what you want to create. Because if I only think about controlling your own legacy and your own narrative, right? And because as you can see with like the Michael Jackson case, even though this is like an extreme case, but it's a post-Smithist case of a person being able to destroy your legacy, and you're no longer there. You can only put out as much work as possible in order and let your work defend itself, right? And so it's like, if I want to be known as a person who enlightens millions or whatever it may be, and all of my work points to that, and all of my documentation of my work, then you know they might have a museum of my Texas one day. You understand me? This is a person's private life. This is a social life. This is a real life. Like, you never know how things are compiled now. Like, they might give that to my super great grandchildren and be like, this is your ancestor historical records that you get to study. And so I'm just like compiling thoughts of like, you know, how much of how much thought that needs to go in, and how much mindfulness and thoughtfulness needs to go into what we do today, and how it will reverberate for years to come, and how it actually shape our children, not just by what we're doing now, but if they can look at what we did then, they're going to be more impressioned by what we did, you know, as they watch that. Like, mom said this now, but shit, I watched her videos then. I'm going to take lead from that. That's now teaching me in the present. So like, a lot of what you're doing in the present can be teaching your children in the future. So it's just an interesting, like, how things become full circle and how time is.
You know, what's going to be really interesting is seeing what it is that your children actually get from you, and how much of it, right? How much of who I am did I really take from my parents, as opposed to my friends, my colleagues, my environment, school. You know, I had a different level of self-esteem as opposed to my sister did, but we grew up in the same house. We had the same two parents, right? So I think that's the beauty of what it is to, one, be so comfortable with the unknown, right? And just continue to align yourself in truth. And also just living without shame. You know, because there is this possibility that, you know, one day your whole life will be displayed. The good, the bad, the text messages in between, who you sleeping with, who you didn't, whether or not you actually were being a good business person or a good friend or a good partner. There is a possibility that all that will be on display in museums for people to look at. And it's like, okay, well, if in fact you can be so comfortable and so unapologetically love yourself, not in a narcissistic way in which you're out like hurting others to feel good about yourself, but in a sense of like, I want to connect with people in a true way, which is through vulnerability, right? Being able to share my lessons, my story, my journey, so so that others can truly relate to me. So I can, they'll see the compassion, they'll see the growth, they'll see all it is that makes up who you are. It can take whatever meat they want and spit out the bones.
You know, there's a weaponization of shame today,
Yes.
which is interesting because it's more so right now. People are using it for their own agendas, and then at the same time, people are using it for their defense campaign. Don't don't Muslim shame me, or don't influencer shame me. Like, you can just put shame behind anything as like your new defense mechanism. And it's just interesting how we weaponize these words for our defenses or for what we dislike. And so it's like a lot of times this stuff can be used to normalize toxic behavior as well. You understand me? Because a person can be like, as a person considers toxic masculinity a thing, a person can always say, don't, masculine shame me or something like that. Because misogyny as well is real. Misandry is just as real as misogyny. And so it's I just find it weird and dangerous how we weaponize everything. Cancel culture, shame culture, all of these different things. And it's just like people are just picking up these things when they're useful to them. But we don't have a real construct of values and things of that nature. And that's why. So you can just pick up something at one point in time when it fits your needs. Because if you don't have and of course, religion is super deconstructed today, and people put it under the guise of spirituality, which can be used to say that, oh, I'm spiritual, I can do whatever I want. So there's no order, there's no rule, there's no function. So there's nothing to point to say I'm doing something wrong. And so I find that to be dangerous because it's easier to manipulate a person when they don't have those rules, when they don't have that order, because you don't know when a person is being hypocritical. You don't know when a person is doing this. And I understand the evolution of we can be all these things and exist, but when you're talking about civilization, it's different than a person's individual thoughts and ideas. We, as a civilization, we have to have a collective agreement upon what we think are morals, what we think are standards, what we think are rules, what we think are values, because that's the only way that we can have unity. Because if yours is different than mine, I can't really unify with you because the way you do things and how you justify things may be different than how I will. And at some point, that's going to drive us apart. So I just think that is interesting, diversity in America. And as far as, how we take on, and when we get on the internet, we take on everyone else's consciousness, and we lose our individual real perspective, and we lose our individual value, and we become consumed by the crowd thoughts. Soon as you log on, people become consumed by the crowd thoughts. Before even you get to know your own thoughts on the subject and the idea, you're reading comments of what other people think, and you start to take on that thinking because it becomes suggestive. And so it's easier to rule a people when they're divided in this chaotic sense than if all black people agreed. And of course, this is a utopian thought process in the first place. But if all black people agreed on specific terms and agendas that we wanted to have out, and rules and values and stuff like that, then we must. Oh, y'all gotta chill. I'm talking shit on my line now. You gotta go. We must. Then we must we got to find a foundation that we can agree on so we can move forward. But if we all disagree, if some people left wing, right wing, spiritualists, atheists, blah 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 blah, then it's hard for us to understand what our actual big picture is. You understand me? And individualism is attached to our egos, because we want to be so individual that we think about nothing or of how is this going to be good for the collective. And in our African psychology, is based off tribalism. It's not based off what the individual is good for the individual. It's based off how that individual can cultivate and bring something to the collective, and it's good for the overall everyone.
I totally hear you, and I totally understand. I think it's very important that we start to really define the we, right? What is we? Who is we? Who, like, how is the we constructed? So, like, even in Africa, there were so many different tribes, right? Everybody didn't have the same shared values or the same systems or setups. And then there was beauty in that until, like, colonization, correct? So, like, with that being said, there's nothing wrong with having many individual units. However, what is important is like, so I went to a, let me go back into this real quick and set this up. So I went to a workshop that talked about racism in systemically, organizationally, indirect, direct, implicit, explicit, right? And what that looks like. And at the end of it, the suggestion that was told to us to start to actually see real change was to indigenize our spaces, right? And when I say indigenous, so that's what made me start to say, okay, we must have unity. Unity is important. Individualism, it's just another idea of this whole idea of independence, which independence is some bullshit. No one or no thing is self-sustaining when we have to sit and think about what symbiosis is. We all need something to be, right? Like, you don't necessarily, you didn't to be, right? We all need something. All of it comes together. The cell, the oxygen, the plant, we need the plant, all of it is symbiosis. So that's important. Independence is some bullshit. It's probably some things some white people made up. So what I'm saying is, so yes, there needs to be unity, but you have to be so clear on what that we looks like, and we doesn't have to look like a bunch of all of the Black people in America. It doesn't have to look that way. There are these spaces of peace, right? There are these spaces of peace that you can have. Like, I look at you according to what you represent on the internet, right? If I believe that you actually walk in your truth and you stay in this truth, and it's not just some facade for the internet. I believe that you operate in a sense of peace. Now, but even in this peace that you have, that doesn't negate all the other shit that's going on around you in your current reality. It's like you have been able to come together in your unit, right, with a bunch of people who have the shared values to be able to operate in this place of peace, as opposed to you being this individual and a whole bunch of bullshit and right here, and that's just it. But because of who you are, and because of your discipline, right, because of your focus, because your lack of procrastination, right, and you wanting to feel that pain, right, to get shit done, so you feel good after it's done, right? You see, I'm dropping.
Yeah. Drop them keys. Like, give them back to me. I'll take them.
So, like, you've been able to create this reality of growth, of good things, of seeing good people, of financial increase, right? So it's like, I'm agreeing with you in a sense of, yes, there must be unification, and just complete individualism is ridiculous. But there's not just one individual, one over here, and just only one person thinks that way. There's so many people that have these shared values in the same sense. We just have to consistently put ourselves out there with mindfulness, right? Because I've built a whole community, a whole village of people who genuinely ride with me, right? And I think I live a pretty good fucking life regardless of my circumstances. And that's because I've been able to share organically, operate in vulnerability and transparency, to find my village, to indigenize my spaces, right? I indigenize my spaces. Like, it's not very often you'll see anybody on my timeline who doesn't agree or share the same type of moral sets or boundaries, governance, because there is governance. Everybody looks at me like I'm this free spirit, but that is not without discipline, that is not without governance, that's not without boundaries, that is not without some type of being like, oh, hell no. They are there so that I can operate well within what feels good for me, in alignment of my best self, of my highest self, of what I believe is great, which is in my moral standing.
So
that comes with lots of different pieces.
So I believe in two things. First, separation, right? We like you said, what you said is it's a practice of separation. In our daily lives, we run into thousands and millions of people in our lives now. We have access to so many people, but we only let so many people within our spaces. And that's a practice of separating for the unalike and building with those like minds. So I definitely believe in, the system of finding your tribe and finding your mastermind group and finding the people that you can build peace with. And the practice of that, and here's what I find is our issue, is that we don't practice what unity is. We say it's a word, it triggers an emotion. We know that that's the overall cure, but we don't know actually how to put the formula together. And so the formula is first inclusion, right? Because once we include each other in things, then it breeds solidarity. We come together for a common cause. And then when we come together for a common cause, then that breeds unity, because that unifies us and that keeps us together. So what I see a lack of is people, they want unity, but they don't practice it. And that practice has to ask yourself, in the operation of separation and indigenizing your spaces, you have to ask yourself, how do I practice unity? Who do I have unity with? Because you can't scream, I want unity for my people, and you can't point to 5 people that you've unified with, that you've included on your road to success. They've included you. Y'all come together and have solidarity, and then y'all unify. So I'm always looking at what's the operation to get to that thing that we want. Well, how do we actually create the solution that we're looking for? And so I find it to be a huge issue today that there's a lot of people who preach unity but don't practice it. And it can't be practiced on of course it can't be practiced on, oh, I got to get 1 million people together. No, unity looks like working with the people that you agree with, and then including them. Is like, if I was to go on the Breakfast Club tomorrow, this is an easy example, I'm going to try to bring as many people as possible. I want to include them on that, because that's going to continue to breed our solidarity, to work together for our common causes, right? And therefore we have unity. So it's a cycle. So I'm always looking for like these things that breed the next thing and breed the next thing and keep that practice alive. And so, no, I don't believe in a utopian of a lot of people. I do believe in, because even in the African psychologies and the different tribes, that's what they were. They were different tribes. That were unity. Like, you agree with what I agree with. You want to function how I function. You want to be a part of this tribe. Then our collective value is going to meet somewhere. And in order for you to stay a part of this, instead of just saying that, oh, my individual archetype runs this. And of course, in any tribe, there's still dominance. There's uniqueness. And what makes you unique is what you can add to that collective. So that's the most powerful thing, is that each one of us has the potential of a manifestation of a particular uniqueness. And it's to my best interest for that you to cultivate that, so you actually have something to bring to the table. So when we add this collective and everybody's bringing their unique frequency, then we continue to evolve and evolve. But if I'm only impregnating you with the indoctrination of our paradigm, our rules, our rituals, then we only sustain whatever level of advancement that we at, instead of saying that, no, you have something to add, come bring it over here. Just don't make the whole thing about you. It's just saying that bring what you have to bring. We having a cookout, bring your dish. You understand me? But it ain't about your dish. It's about everybody being able to try each other's, and you add a new flavor. You feel me? That's what we do.
I think that here's what I've been able to offer, right? Because we're in a space of like, here's my offering, right? And I think that's the beauty of what it is that you're designed from so many around you. It's like, here's what I have to offer. Here's my offering, right? And when we come to offering, we're saying like, hands are open to receive and hands are open to give, okay? And so my offering is my ability to, first of all, I think women are the best uniters. Just saying, maybe you need a little more women in your crew. Just sprinkle them in.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I'm just speaking. I'm not. But everybody can always use more women in their infrastructure and in their life. That's just facts.
So, what it is that one of my gifts, right? My gift is my ability to practice a very deep level of compassion. And I can hold a lot of space. And the way I've been able to unite a people is with that ability to sit there in my vulnerability, right? My ability to sit in vulnerability, my ability to share dark spaces. And there's this whole picture, like, let me just paint this picture of like what that type of holding space and compassion looks like. Oftentimes when we see our brothers and our sisters, and we have a lot of challenges, we have a lot of trauma that we're dealing with. We're having a lot of people coming from really, really tough, hard spaces. We're either finding brothers that are too stiff or brothers that are too soft, women that are too hard or women that are not are too broken, right? And so what I have been able to do, right, what I've been gifted with, what the Most High has given to me, is the ability to be so strong enough is to sit down, like go deep inside their spaces and sit with them. Oftentimes when we see our brothers hurting, we be like, ooh, that's a hurt brother. Like, hey, I know it's dark down there. Let me know when you're ready to come up. When you're ready to come up, I got you.
Right.
We can start marching once you come up out the hole. What I've been able to do is that I will be like, Let me go deep down in that hole with that brother, because that's acknowledging the dark spaces that I've experienced, right? Me being okay. Me being okay. To sit down next to that brother or sister and say, hey, I'm here. And when you're ready, I'll help you. Right? When you're ready to get out of here, I'll walk up with you. I'll show you where the ladder is, and we can climb up together. And that's also being able to keep spaces, also have boundaries within that, right? So I'm not taking on a whole bunch of energies or frequencies that do not support our overall mission of being well. We share values in these same systems and these same systems to operate offerings, because that person in that dark hole still has something to offer. And with that person in that dark hole, passion, that which we need to unite, vulnerability, openness, like the willing to say, me too. I know what that is. I know what that was. But that's a deep level of emotional maturity that so many of us need practice on. And so when so many are constantly saying, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know how we're going to do these things, or I don't know how we're going to do that, that's fine, that's cool. And so, because so many of us don't, as examples in our home, we're terrible thing with doctors and letters on the back that are white people, because of the way colonization has set up. Most of the people in these fields are white, right? And then we have so many fears of that, and it's all this fear base that keeps us stagnant and stuck. And so there are those few of us who are willing to sit in these spaces. However, it requires such an immense amount of understanding how to hold it all. Like, how do we hold on? Right?
I think one of the reasons I can work with different people, for one, it is partly because of what you said. Not everybody has the ability to organize, for one. Organizing and people management skills is an art, and it can be a gift, just especially when you bring in cosmic beings together. It's trying to get all of the planets to align, right? And then the planets, they circle around this sun, right? This central idea. And when you're trying to get all of the planets to circle around this sun, this central idea, you have to know, where each planet is supposed to be aligned, right? Jupiter can't sit in Pluto's space. Each thing has to be in its proper alignment. And empathy goes a long way, when it comes to being able to manage people and put them in their perspective place, and also understand how every individual feels, and having an intuition on how they feel and what they're thinking about already, and being able to navigate that. It takes a lot, right? Because ego is one of our biggest weapons that's been used against us. And so, of course, that's why we always talk about the we-go. Everybody wants to be the one who gets credit and saying that I did this, especially in the unnatural environment of America, is meant for us to be egoist and egotistical and want to gain credit and have get awards and certificates for every single thing that we do. So instead we say, look, none of these things go away, so let's just shift it in a different direction. Let's align it where it needs to be, put this energy where it needs to be, because energy is finite. You're not going to destroy it. You just put it in a different place. So I say, let's brag about what we do together, and that builds our solidarity. And that's why I believe in, everybody plays their part. Like, I know that there's certain parts that I can play that other people can do within a group that I can't do. And once you humble enough to recognize other people's uniqueness, other people's gifts, and other people's frequencies, you step back when it's their time to drive. You step back when it's their time to be in front. And that allows you to consistently be able to unify with individuals. And then that other component of being able to communicate and understand this, and that openness, it creates no borders between y'all. You know what I mean? And
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
What you're saying, being able to govern, to allocate tasks, like being able to say, hey, this is what you're good at. We know you're good at this. However, you're not good at this, right? Like, I'm not capable of it. You're a man. Like, I'm not out here being like, let me fertilize eggs up in this motherfucker. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where we sometimes get a little sick, right? We're having all this. Sometimes you can get online and women out here thinking they fertilize eggs these days, right? Like, it's not like that's the beauty of being able to be like, seriously, I know you're in this dark hole right now. Like, let me know when you're ready. Like, we can start to all shift together, so you can actually get what it is that you're good at. You know what I'm saying? And let these do what they're good at.
Right. Mars can't do what Pluto do.
In the head here, because we all trying to get to here. So asking is for people to be able to do. Have people who have better discernment than I do, right? People who have better time management skills than I do, right? Like I'm a hell of a mom, right? But boy, let me tell you, I could definitely use some help, and teamwork is the only way that I'm going to get to what it is that I really, really want. Thinking that I can do it all, and I think, unfortunately, one of our challenges as Black women, is that because we're starting to operate so many masculine spaces, right, is that we start to tell ourselves is that we have to do it all. We have to do it all because we've been doing it all, right? And that's where we're needing some empathy and some compassion, and having people in our unit, right, who know what it is to deal with complex emotions like that, complex mind states, knowing how to really handle psychological abuse that we've had to themselves to be okay. And it's just like, it's not just as simple as like, dude, like, let's got this, let's come together, because we're dealing with so much trauma for generations on generations on generations. So like, but you're absolutely right. These are, and it's going to take so much more than just one person who's good at one thing and one person, but making sure that we're covering so many different aspects of complexity internally with the mind and the emotion and the trauma. Like, everyone's got all these great ideas, but the practice comes from being able to push through trauma.
And you got to be able to believe it. Like, a lot of people don't believe unity is possible. And once you create that and you crystallize that, then of course it's not possible, because you're going to do everything to continue your beliefs.
If you never saw it at home, right? You never saw it from your cousins. It's so interesting, even in my life, right? And so we start to share, like, here's a little bit of my story, right? I grew up in a two-parent home. Married. They've been married for 35 years. 36 years this year. 37 years right now, right? I don't know any one of my friends whose parents have been married that long. And I know a lot of people, right? And so it's so interesting to see how I view relationships, or what I think commitment looks like, as opposed to what others look like, or people who I've dated. It's so deep. It's so complex. And it's like, how much of that, right, do we hold space for? Do we shift? What is it that we do? How responsible are we for our brothers and our sisters in these spaces of shifting to show them what unity looks like? How often do I keep showing up for somebody who's so abusive to themselves that they abuse the others around them, right? Like, but there's so many of us like that.
Right.
I go back and forth oftentimes in our how, there's really this big thing right now of women shouldn't be rehabilitation centers, right? Black women should not be rehabilitation centers for Black men. That's said a lot. And granted, we should not be. But I do believe that there is some sense of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be something that we have to hold some space for them, right?
Well,
and vice versa.
In both regards, I know, in personal experience, I know, because of what I do, a lot of people come to me for that rehabilitation. And the only thing about that is that, you can't characterize a person by what you think they can do for you and only bring them that thing. And because what ended up happening is that they don't have enough energy to actually rehabilitate you. Everybody wants to be humanized, and everybody has their things that they want. A person has to, there has to be an agreement that, yes, you're coming here for this rehabilitation. And in that agreement, there has to be reciprocation, so that it allows that person to continue to help others. And the problem is that when we get into these spaces, and you're helping other people, for one, the lack of appreciation and reciprocation in those roles is not understood. And so a lot of people feel drained from helping one person and feeling let down, because they feel like, damn, while I help them, I neglected myself. So I definitely believe that, Black men and Black women are supposed to help each other in those spaces, and at the same time, we have to understand, anytime somebody is helping us, nobody owes each other anything, but we do owe it to all of us to help each other, you know, in an overall sense. So, you know, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with both stances, you know, and you know, a lot of times most people end up, I'm away, she probably doing something, had to go do a lot of stuff. But a lot of people end up taking on a lot of people's trauma and a lot of people's situations, and yeah, it either messed them up or it increases the other person and it makes them right for the next person who they go be with. But you know, that's a much deeper conversation, but it's necessary because I definitely see it happening a lot. And then it's like you have to be the type of person that empathizes with our people's plight and how we're made the way we are. You understand me? And if you're that type of person that's looking at it from that stance, then you can empathize with the issues that each person comes with, and also humanize them. Like, yeah, people make mistakes, but are you making it and you learning from it, or are you making it and it's becoming your character? Because that's when that person deserves all the guilt in the world. But if we can have this conversation and you're saying that, damn, I did make that mistake, I shatter, but look, I'm gonna learn off this experience and grow from it. But a lot of people go through things, but they don't grow through it. You understand me? And so people take on the attitude of I don't give a fuck, which is the most dangerous attitude because it allows you to escape through things but not learn from it. You understand me? And so for me, it's about what is a person learning from? And then if a person is learning from it and they're growing and they evolving, then of course we can use that measurement of empathy and we can forgive each other and be like, all right, cool. We meant here to experience. We're not meant here to go through everything perfect, because that would say that we know everything already and what's going to happen, what's going to be played out, how we're going to feel about it, what lesson we're already going to get from it. So it's impossible. So we're meant to go through these things to grow.
I think that's the beauty of everybody coming together. You said, like, what do we have to offer? This person can give these spaces here, support each other here. We all learning here. We're growing here. This person is just choosing not to grow. Okay, so, you know, thank you. We're going another route. You know, like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think about it because there's many things that I've done, you know, and I have to learn through those things, and then it makes you take a look at yourself in the mirror and be like, damn, didn't you know better? But it's like a lot of times, you know, we operating at different levels of intention, operating at different levels of decision making, and at different points in time, one person can make one decision that can characterize their whole life, because we tend to remember the bad more than we remember the good. So a person can do 99% good all the time, but if they do 1% bad, we're going to remember that because the bad makes us feel so bad that we're going to characterize them by that thing. And so it's unfair.
This is where the emotional maturity comes in. This is where you have to learn how to observe your thoughts, question your thoughts, ask yourself, is it true, right? Is it true? Like, if a person does this, let's just say I'm calling you, and for the first time you always answer my calls, and for the first time you decided you didn't answer my call. And so at some point I'm feeling abandoned, right? I tell myself, he abandoned me. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't love me, right? That's like this whole trigger of just some made up emotions that I fucking created in that moment, right? Which I then make you this bad person who doesn't say shit, right? But then, and that happens often. But we have to ask ourselves, is that true? Is that true, right? If I can name a time where he did always answer the phone, if I can name a time where he always showed up, if I can name a time where and it's not absolute truth that he's a person who abandons, a person who doesn't care, and a person who doesn't love, right? So.
And then a person, you know, like, that's funny, that situation just itself, I'm sure everybody has dealt with and has experience with that. And it represents so much a lot of times, you know, for the person that gets emotionally tangled, because it usually has nothing to do with that person. It has everything to do with you, how you feel about how things happen and how you react to things. And you know, sometimes your intuition tells you you're right, and oftentimes, you know, your intuition or your emotions create the situation that you hope and not true, you know, because once you start to distrust someone and you lose that trust, then, you know, and it's dangerous to say that you create that, but you can only create that in the person where that potential already exists. But it's saying that which part of that person do you want to cultivate, you know, because if you're always pointing out that this person is distrustful, then you're actually nurturing their distrust. You're making them more of a distrusting person, because now you can't really if you don't trust a person, they can't trust you. You know,
Yes.
so
It's a projection of just discord.
So in that sense of communication, a lot of people come to hold on. A lot of people come to situations and they bring the entirety of all their past and their baggage and a bunch of different things with them. And when one little thing happened, they throw it all at a person. And then when they sit back with themselves, like, you know what? Damn, that wasn't even really about you. That was unfair for me to throw all that shit at you like that. Because really, that little thing that you did, I was just hoping that you somehow magically knew what I was going through in my life, even though I didn't communicate it with you. You were supposed to understand it somehow. And that's a super unfair way to treat people and deal with people, because it's gonna, for one, it's just gonna cause y'all to end up falling out. And you're gonna think bad about this person, but not gonna ever really, measure yourself to say that, damn, what did I do to create the situation that I was in? And why am I constantly and then at the same time, why am I constantly getting with people who will react that way to me? You understand me? Because I think that the next time you be with someone else is when you became better. When you, every time you get with a new person, you should evolve. So you make sure that you're not creating those same circumstances that you were in. If you're the same person, get with the same type of person, it'll be the same type of situation. And you go attract the same type of person. Yeah.
If you treat yourself this way, you're constantly like putting yourself down easily, quickly. You're going to do that to your partner as well, and to those around you, not just your partners or people you're in intimate relationships with, your best friends, your family, your pets, your children, right?
Right.
One of the things that I've told people before is I don't have to trust you. I don't have to trust you. I trust myself.
Right.
And at any point in time where this is no longer safe for me, is no longer healthy for me, is no longer healthy for all those involved with me, then I will make the necessary choices to go the other way. I will make the necessary choices to observe, poke at, acknowledge, make decisions based upon what is and not what I hope them to be, to take care of myself. Because I love myself enough to trust myself enough to say, okay, this is no longer good for me and mine, and it's no longer good for you. Because if it's actually no longer for me, then I know for damn sure you can't be possibly getting anything out of this, right? And I think that's the level of elevation that we all need to get to, and then some, right? And having the ability to communicate that, having the ability to walk in that, having the ability to act in that, having the ability to teach that, right? And having the ability not to, because it's one thing to talk about the things, right? But it's another to do it. So it's not just something that we know, it's a part of who we are, right? Because we want it to be a part of who we are. So it's just that we know, it's a part of who we are. So, and teaching that and being that and doing that, right? And having enough practice in doing that is where we are. It's got to keep going.
That's just where self-awareness comes aligned. The more I know myself, the easier it is for me to know and understand other people, and the easier it is for me to empathize with other people. And if you want more, become more, just so you deserve more, but a lot of people are afraid of being alone. So, they invade somebody else's space. And a lot of times you really invading somebody's space when you're only wanting to be around that person because you don't like being alone. You understand me? But when you get around a person because you genuinely have some value to add to their space and they got some value to add to yours, then that's reciprocation. That's equal, But a lot of times we seek people that can fill us up because they're more interesting or they have a greater level of happiness or more shit going on in their life. So you want them to fill your cup up that's kind of half empty that you ain't really doing. But if I look at it like this, if I want to be with the most interesting woman in the world, I got to make myself the most interesting man in the world. I can't just like her for who she is if I'm not matching that glory of who she is. So, you got to be able to deserve that which you want. And how do you deserve it? You have to become that which you want. You understand me? So that's kind of how I look at it. Yeah, like,
like, this is what I want. Act putting that's part of manifestation. Like, yep, I'm gonna like that. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. This is good. Oh, my best friend just had the thing that I want to be a part of too. Let me go ahead and donate to that and say thank you. By the way, I'm pretty sure we're gonna put our cash on something pretty soon because people preaching tonight.
We going in. Y'all like every time I get on this relationship stuff, man, I be going in. People like when I talk about it. I don't even really like. A reason I don't like talking about it is because I'm not in a relationship. So I just,
But you're in so many relationships.
Well, yeah. I mean, people like to be prescribed medicine by their doctors, but not by non-traditional doctors. They want medical school doctors. You know, people still exist in these paradigms where they can only consider you to be specialized in, you know, in your skill set as if you went to school for it. You know, so it's different.
Well, that's the beauty of being able to create, you know, your indigenize your space. Luckily, I've been deemed, you know, an expert in many things that I didn't have to go to school for or be certified for.
Hey, I've given therapy sessions to therapists. I've consulted therapists, and I was thinking like, damn, shouldn't you be teaching me some of this shit? You don't know none of this. You know what I mean? So, at the moment you become educated is, you know, the moment you become outdated, because you get stuck in what you know while things are changing, and you're gonna need to update your knowledge consistently.
Well, look, this baby of mine loves to have me, so let me get back to staring at her because she's about that life.
Peace.
Did you want to say hello?
Pretty cool.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure building with you.
Like,
time and space today, all by what is.
All right, I'm gonna tap in with you, good sister. Oh man, that was that better than I thought. You know, that was better than I thought. You know, we went in tonight. I'm gonna need y'all to go on the website and spend $1 million tonight. Y'all just got $1 million worth of game. And if you're not following Miss Wright Way, go make sure you follow that good sister. Make sure you tap in. I'm gonna go ahead and close it down and tap out for the night. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and put up crowns. You know what I'm talking about? Crowns 19. Go buy you a shirt. Go buy you coffee. Get you a coffee mug, man. You're supposed to be sitting here sipping with me. The water tastes better. But yeah, follow the good sister and tap in with her. She's hilarious as well. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna love the content. You know. All right. I'm getting out of social media land for now. All right. Thank you for tapping in. YouTube. I appreciate you all. Everybody that's here on YouTube. Y'all stuck with us. Y'all in the comments. Thank you all. Nas Green, K Solo, Learn to Love Again. Everybody who's in here. Jackino 117. Satar Dever. Everybody. You know, God's Child, Rad Ringling, Bro. Leos, the Yodas, the Lotus, Smile a While, Job Vibes, A Mizzle, Ambitious Beauty. You know what I'm talking about? All of y'all that's tapping in right now. Thank you. I'm trying to keep it consistent and help you navigate through these paradigms, you know, as we create these shifts. I wanted to go live with the good brother in Billion. I'm not sure where he is in the world, but I know that's a really busy man. So I can't always, you know, tap in with the brother when I want to. But inshallah, we'll be able to do a live tomorrow, because that brother he has a plethora of knowledge and a very successful businessman, and I want to tap in with him. So hopefully that's our guest tomorrow. But thank you. This will be on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna turn it into an MP3 and also put this on my podcast. Tap in. Peace, YouTube, and peace all those in the podcast family that are listening in, that tapped in, that stuck with us, and that listened to all of the great keys that we had to offer and we had to drop today. I appreciate you all's willingness to share this space, this energy, this time, and shift your paradigm.